Welcome to the Coaches Preview Show. I'm Darrin Joins, Williamson County Schools Athletic Director. We're here previewing tonight's game, Independence High School at Centennial. We're going to start by talking to our girls' coaches from Centennial, Brad Simmons, from Independence, Bryan Glasner. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Your last meeting was December 19th at Independence. Independence comes out on top, 58-41. Independence coming in with a record of 6-3 in the league, 12-6 overall, right, Coach?
Yes, sir.
Centennial 0-10, still looking for that first district win, 2-15 overall. Coach Simmons, now it's your first time here this year, so why don't you talk a little bit about your team and what's been going on with them this year?
Sure, yeah. I tell you, typically a record, as you just read, a group of kids would be down, and but I'm so proud of this group. They keep their head up. They've developed a good relationship amongst each other. They're playing for each other, and I couldn't be more proud. And it's kind of wild to say that this is one of my best teams that I've coached from that standpoint. They're just really close, and they get it. They get that part, the culture piece. So we really focused on that.
And starting 4 sophomores, so I guess the advantage of that would be not that they don't want to win every game. They do.
Right.
They're competitors. They're playing sports.
Sure.
But they know maybe it's not about this year in a lot of ways, right? Or am I wrong about that?
No, I think so. I think they understand that. But like you said, they're still competitors. They still want to, win. But we've kind of got to the point where we're taking one game at a time, and I do see some improvement. And as a coach, as you know, it's hard to see that sometimes when you're in the middle of it. But several people have told me that, and so I'm starting to believe it. So sometimes it's hard when you're in the midst of a season, from a wins and loss standpoint. We battled last night, on Tuesday. And I thought they don't quit. They don't quit. So I'm really proud of them. So.
Well, and I talked to Coach Wild from Summit after that game, and they had an addition, post player coming back, Colson.
Yeah, yes.
And talked about. He said, "Hey, look, we played well, and it wasn't like it was a gimme. I mean,
Right.
Centennial's really playing well. So that says something about you and your coaching staff and your team.
Thank you.
That you're continuing to get better, because that can be a struggle sometimes.
Sure.
Especially, we're in this. I guess we're all like this. We want short-term gratification a lot of times.
Absolutely.
So I commend you for that.
Thank you. Appreciate
Coach
that.
Glasner, sitting in 4th in the standings right now. You had Tuesday night off.
Right.
So let me ask you, as a veteran coach like you are, and it probably differs with different teams, was that a take it easy kind of day? Or are you going back to grinding it out? Or how did that go? I know you had a tough game.
We went back to basic stuff that we've been having problems on, working on defensive coverage, especially when we're playing top 2 teams that just burn us on 3-point line. So we were working on how to do rotations better and how to, not help as much, but also cover the arc better. So those are the kind of things that you try to do. And then you try to work on any other things that you see that maybe that people haven't taken advantage of, but you self-scout yourself and try to change some things that can help you.
Outside looking in, it seems to me that bye may have come at a pretty good time for your team. Am I right about that?
Yeah, it comes at a good time considering who we played at the end of it and how the rotation is. But just like we were talking about earlier before we got started, anybody can beat anybody. And you see people improving and challenging people, and it's about matchups. So that's where we are right now. And if you can take advantage of those matchups or not matchups that are beneficial to you, you got to be able to cover those things.
Coach Simmons, let's talk a little bit more about your team. Sheraton Foster's a name that keeps coming up. Only a sophomore. We talked about you starting 4 sophomores. She's one of those 4. She's been a pretty valuable asset for you.
Oh, absolutely. She's a kid that lives, breathes it, drinks it, eats it. She loves the game, and she takes it so hard, the losses, and when she feels like she doesn't play that well. Quiet, but very, very good leader, and she only continues to improve, and she's going to continue to improve because she puts the time in.
Is she the obvious leader of your team as a sophomore?
I'd say that quietly, but really I'd say overall our one senior is kind of leading the pack, Hannah Wright. She's just a great kid, very positive, and she's really taken on that role this year, and couldn't be more proud of her.
Would you say that she's been the leader that has made sure you guys have stayed focused? Again, we talked about your team's lost some games. Has she been the leader of that?
I think she is probably the more vocal person in that regards. You know, I would say yes, but I would say as a whole, I would say the entire group has taken it upon themselves to do that. But yes, she stands out from that standpoint. So
Talk a little bit more about your game on Tuesday night with Summit.
yeah, so as you mentioned, the big kid Colson was back, and she makes a difference. She does make a difference, you know, like I said, we got behind, but we came back in the second half and we didn't stop. I mean, we got down pretty good, and we just kept fighting, you know, and I really, you know. For losing a game, there was a lot of good things to take from that game. So I'm very proud of them. So
It seems like defensively, too, your team's getting better because you see your opponent scoring less and less and less points.
yeah. I think they're really starting to get some things defensively. You know, a lot of them, you know, being freshmen, sophomores. You know, I played three freshmen play, you know, as well. Some, you know. And so they haven't been taught a lot of man defense, you know, and that's about all we play, you know.
Right.
And so they're starting to get it, yeah. And you know, it just takes time for that. That, you know, teaching man defense, as you know, takes a while, you know.
Well, I don't know, but I'm sure somebody.
Yeah, somebody may know that. Yeah.
At least that's what folks think, right?
Yeah. There you go.
Coach Glasner, last Friday night. I mean, believe me, I don't think it was an upset that Page beat you, but I think folks, maybe you too, would have been surprised at the dominance. Was it one of those situations, just a really good team that gets rolling at their place? It's hard to get them stopped. Is it also one of those things that maybe is another growth thing for your team?
I think it's several factors, like you said, and you have to understand that bunch has played together. You know, that's the other thing you talk about, their experience and familiarity with it, and the consistency of that program and what he's done. And, you know, it's the same thing with, you know, Brentwood. They're similar.
Yeah.
And they have several shooters, both teams. And there's when you get on a going, you know, it can be a little disheartening to you. And you just don't want to implode. I thought that we just didn't match the challenge like I thought we should the second half. Like, you know, we got beat pretty good with the Brentwood game, but in the second half I thought we played better. And that game against Page, I just think we didn't. And we're on the road, and, you know, those things happen. So, but you got to learn from that and use that to your advantage down the road. So, you know, it's a season game. They mean more when you go home, those tournament games.
Let me ask you this, and I watched that game pretty closely last Friday. It was down by your bench. I loved your demeanor because I think sometimes, and obviously you're a veteran coach, and it's your demeanor maybe anyway, you weren't losing your cool, you weren't berating people. You could tell that maybe it just looked that way to me, that you were very conscious maybe they were fragile a little bit too if you just pounded on them. Was that something you thought about, or is that just me looking into it too much?
Well, I just think you got to teach. You know, a lot of times coaches get a bad rap, you know, that they're not teachers. Well, yes, we're teachers first. If you're a good teacher in a classroom, you're going to be a good teacher on the court. And I think that it's very important for them to learn a lesson from whatever it is. You know, you keep coaching and use those situations, okay. I mean, I've even done this before where there's no way you're going to win, but you call a timeout. All right, we're down 3. This is what, because you can't practice that.
Yeah.
You can't set that stuff up. So that's kind of the way I try to handle things like that sometimes. It's hard for sometimes them to understand that, but you teach every possession, you know, every moment, a segment of a game. So that's what you try to do.
After tonight's game, Coach, you guys, I was looking, you have a stretch of 3 home games too. Right? So that's going to be a pretty, I mean, obviously you're focused on tonight, but that's going to be a big stretch for your team, those 3 that are coming up at home.
Yeah, that Friday, Saturday backup's tough, though.
Yeah.
So we have Franklin on a Tuesday and then turn around and play Summit on a Friday and then have Page come in our place. That's a makeup game on Saturday. So, that's going to be a tough week.
But does that get you ready, and you both can address this, I always thought that, and again, maybe this is something a lot of people haven't thought about, I tried to schedule some Fridays, Saturdays when I had a team, especially I thought maybe could make it deep in the tournament. Because the reality of it is, when you start playing the tournament, that's what happens.
Yeah, you got to play back to back.
Do you guys try to do that, or is that a hidden benefit of maybe that happening?
Well, this is probably a hidden benefit of that. If you can have a benefit of playing Summit and Page back to back, you know.
Tell him what he's won, John.
Yeah, there you go. And but you know, and I've already talked to the girls about this and how we're approaching this. So. You have to learn something from the situation.
Right.
What do you think, Coach Simmons?
Yeah, I agree. I've never really, thought about that scheduling that way, but yeah, you just have to approach it, game by game. So,
Coach Simmons, if the season ended today, and I'm curious what you think about this. Obviously, you want to try to get up the standing as far as you can,
sure, yeah.
With the team that's got your youth. If you get in that 8-9 game, now obviously that's kind of a toss-up game.
Right.
You guys, Spring Hill and Franklin, are kind of there together. That wouldn't be too bad, really, would it, to play in that 8-9 game, but to get that extra game for your team, so to speak?
Yeah, no, I don't think at all. Yeah, like I said, it's a learning year, and I think you're right. I think that's a good experience. So it's good.
And right now, if it's season ended today, you would go to Franklin. That's a pretty interesting 8-9 crosstown rival.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Absolutely, I'm ready for it. Yeah.
Coach Glasner, Dixon's loss to Ravenwood on Tuesday. That really, you've talked about you're shooting for third. Obviously, you want to be as high as you can be, but that loss kind of helps you in the standings too, right? If you're trying to get into third, don't act like you hadn't thought about it.
Well, I try to think about my team first.
I understand.
And where we are as a group and stuff and what's going on. But yeah, you kind of peek at those kind of things because you always try to find out what's going on. And again, it's about matchups.
Yeah.
How people matching up with each other, and be careful what you wish for. Yeah. Because that might not really what you want. So as far as matchups, but
there you go.
And we've talked about that and understanding your team and your personnel and what's the best situation, like Coach said, for you. That game for him might be a great matchup situation for him and a building thing. And we're in a building situation trying to change a culture too. So we've just been fortunate enough to catch people at the right time early in the season. So yeah, you look at it, but right now, setting at fourth, trying to take care of fourth place and take care of the next game, that's big for us.
When I look at your two teams, I think, because how many wins for Independence last year? 5?
6 or
6
5.
wins? 5 or 6? You got 6 in the league. You fast forward a year, it might be Centennial we're talking about. Hey, you struggled a little bit last year, but it was a growth year. Sure. Do you look at that and go, hey, maybe that could be us making that climb?
Sure, especially with the attitudes they have and they want to get better. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the hope.
Let's talk a little bit more about tonight's game. We only have a couple minutes here left. Coach Simmons, what's it going to take to turn around that game that you played earlier in the year?
Well, we're going to have to play better on the defensive end. I think the focus has got to be defense. So I think we're gonna go in. We're gonna be ready to play. I feel confident we're ready to play. So.
Coach Glasner?
I think it's the same thing. Like he said, we got to be able to play defense better. Of course, that was early in the season. I think that we have to execute our offense better because they did some good things against us defensively. And I just think it's about matchups and how you take those challenges.
Gentlemen, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
Good luck in tonight's game.
Appreciate it.
We'll be back to talk with our boys' coaches.
Hi, Williamson County. Ever wonder why a school bus is yellow? I'm Deputy Jonathan Cooey with the Williamson County Sheriff's Office, and I have an important message for you. When you're out driving and see the yellow school bus, slow down, pay attention, use caution. There's nothing that you're doing or no place you're going that's more important than the lives inside this bus. Already this year across the United States, too many lives have been lost at bus stops due to people being in a hurry and not paying attention. So please, use caution when you see a school bus on the road.
It's yellow for a reason.
I know, right?
Williamson County Schools and the Williamson County Sheriff's Office want to remind you to be on the lookout for the big yellow bus.
Welcome back to the Coaches Preview Show. We're talking about tonight's matchup, Independence at Centennial High School. We've got from Centennial, Tyler Hickman, from Independence, Doug Keil. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Coach Keil, second time on the show with us this year, and Coach Hickman had to correct me. First year head coach at Centennial, but second time on the show.
That's right. Yeah, I filled in for Coach Froden. I think it was a Battle of Franklin. So
Wow, so
a couple years ago. So
we're just in different
me
seats.
and, Coach Keil may have interviewed us then. I don't know.
You guys' last meeting in December, Centennial with the win, 73-62, and I was at that game. That was overtime, right? Wasn't that an overtime game?
Yep.
So really, the score's not indicative of the game, and it wasn't. I mean, it's an 11-point game, but not really. I mean, it was kind of back and forth the whole time. And if I'm not mistaken, not to bring up a bad memory, Coach, but you guys actually had the ball with the shot to win at the end, right?
We did.
Called a timeout maybe around half court.
We did, and struggled to execute, but that happens early in the season sometimes.
It does.
And hopefully, if we could put in that situation again, maybe we can execute better.
And talk to your clock keeper, home cooking, like stop the clock early so you got a couple more seconds to run that inbound play.
I know you've done that.
Coach Hickman, again, first-time guest on the show this year. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I was just born and raised in Memphis. Ended up at Lipscomb University. Went to school there, and just kind of found my way into coaching. Was at BGA for a couple years, and then obviously got on board with Coach Froden at Centennial when he started. So I was there for 3 years, and then was at BGA last year, and had kind of accepted a job in Memphis, and then got a call from Centennial, which is like home to me. So it was just an easy decision for me to obviously get back with the Centennial family. So happy to be here for sure.
And you've done a good job because, when as Coach Froden exited, I think it was in disarray a little bit. People talking about going to other schools and maybe not playing. You've gotten that, to me, back together, and I commend you for that. Centennial needed it.
Yeah, we've tried. Obviously, the culture was really good when I was there previously, and still good. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely some nurturing, definitely some pieces that kind of fell back into place. Thankful to relationships, obviously, that I kind of had previously. And the same time, new principal, new. But yeah, it's been exciting, and I'm pleased with obviously the way it's been to this point.
Well, and I've talked to folks at your school, administrators, other coaches, and the thing that really stands out to them about you is how you're a school guy.
Yeah.
That you're into the entire school, and that's really important. I mean, it's important in any school, but I think in our district in particular, it almost seems more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not going to build relationships with the kids in the school or other athletic teams or other coaches in your school, then at the end of the day, what are you going to do? A couple Fridays ago against Franklin, I was in a white suit, and we lost, so we're 0-1, so it may never come back out.
I loved it.
But again,
I loved it.
It's more for the student section and trying to get people to your games and trying to, excite middle school kids that may end up at your school, and that's what it's about. So trying to do all those things, at a high level. Definitely my first year has been a big emphasis.
Well, I think it's a smart play, and you got to be you, right? Coach breaks out the suspenders. He's got to be him too, right?
That's right.
Every once in a while.
I know it's a big game when I see the suspenders. Do you have any that are like your personal favorites, like a particular color or style, or?
It just goes with whatever I'm wearing, I guess. I don't know.
No Eagles on there or anything?
No, I don't have anything like that yet.
Coach Keil, your team had Tuesday off. That mental, and I talked to Coach Glasner about this too, was that a good mental and physical rest for your team?
I think so. We get to identify issues that are things that we could fix and not have to worry about it. Give us time, maybe some alter some things that we do, make a couple changes, and also regroup and get ready for the stretch run.
And obviously we can't mention specific injuries, but had a couple guys a little bit banged up in that Page game too, right? So it's probably a good rest for them as well.
We've been nicked in a lot of different ways. Early in the season it was at the post position, and lately it's been at the guard position. So it's just, but our guys continue to fight through it, and they have a great attitude, and they're excited to go.
And I think part of that too, those injuries happening, and I've said this and I mean this, your teams play so hard. You can guarantee that a team that you're coaching is playing hard. And when that happens, you're probably going to get nicked up a little bit.
I think so. They sacrifice for their teammates and their team, and it's a fun thing to watch. I'm really proud of them, and I hope we go through those that late in the season, it all comes together because it's a tournament sport, and
Well,
that's what we're working for.
I think you've got a shot for that to happen. Let's talk Centennial here, off to a 12-9 start, 5-5 in district play right now, sitting in 4th. Tuesday night's game at Summit, 57-53 loss. And I looked at this. Of your 5 district losses, obviously the one Franklin game maybe got a little bit out of hand, but the other 4 games, total of 16 points.
Yeah.
So that's got to be soothing and frustrating at the same time.
Yeah, it is. And we've had a lot of wins that have been kind of the other way, right? That's this district. You can go back and listen to media days, and that's what every one of us said.
Yeah.
If you don't bring your A game this night, it's going to happen. Summit obviously on Tuesday night was a big game for the district in terms of standings and kind of where we fell. Thought we played well for all but really the first 4 minutes. The first 4 minutes, it was like 15-2 right off the start. We did not handle their pressure very well. And then after that, we kind of got in the flow, played well. I got my Ben Brown, obviously, came back for the first night last night.
I know Coach Keil's happy about that.
Yes.
Well, it's good to have him back. It adds some, different things to
It
kind of
does.
our team. So, really, even though we started out 9-2 and we're kind of reeling and kind of been up and down since the Dixon loss, getting him back kind of feels like a little bit of a new start for us because he does add a different dimension to our team. So it's been fun. It's been fun watching the guys grow. Obviously, Tuesday night was not much fun, but I like where we are for it to be, the last day of January here, from where we're headed. Hopefully, is a positive place.
Talk about, to me, with your team, what stands out is the prominence of the seniors on your team. Dusty Williams, Isaiah Poore, Andrew Ellis, and Carter Speedy. That really stands out to me, and typically that means tournament time. That should help.
Here's to hoping. Here's to hoping. I think that's why there's a little frustration with 12-9 and 5-5 in the district. You feel like you have some senior leaders that have been cornerstones and have really, really meant everything to your program. And obviously, those guys are really talented players. And so, that's why I feel good about where we are, truthfully. We've had a lot of sit-down conversations with those guys. It doesn't make it any easier on a Tuesday or Friday night in this district just because you still have to show up and play. But mentally, for a team that started out 9-2 and is 3-7 over their last 10, it could be taxing. But we're kind of, like Coach Keil said, Friday the 20th, or I think it's the 20th, the first night of the quarterfinals,
Yeah, I believe so.
is a big deal for all of us. And so if we're not working kind of towards that as well, then you're really just kind of missing the point.
I think it's one of those years, too. Coach Keil, what do you think about this? That I don't think I would be surprised at any first-round result.
Absolutely. All the teams are ultra competitive. You've seen it throughout the season already, including Tuesday night. There's some big wins by some Ravenwood beating Dixon.
Huge win.
The Summit game with Centennial was incredible. And
Page over
then
Franklin.
Page over Franklin. And thank you. But so, and that's kind of what we're looking at, is that we feel like we've been competitive. And like Coach just said, there's a 4-minute stretch here or a couple possessions here or there that our results have turned around. So when we're working towards that, playing that full game.
Coach Keil, for your team, when I look at the standings, I feel like you're sort of lumped in with Page and Ravenwood. You guys have 3 wins in the league. They have 4. But both of those teams have had a little stretch where you're like, oh, okay, they've got a couple of wins. If that happens for your team, which definitely could, you could maybe take that next jump.
Absolutely. And that's what we've talked about all week, and hopefully that we can continue to build and grow, because we believe that we're capable of doing that.
Well, you take a look at Ravenwood. Their last 2 games, wins over Franklin and Dixon. But their previous game was an 11-point loss to you guys.
Exactly.
So you got to look at that and go, hey, that can be us.
Exactly. And we've discussed that, quite a bit.
Coach Hickman, when you look at the district standings, right now, and I would love this as the district AD, you would be hosting Franklin. A battle of Franklin in the first round just sounds pretty awesome to me. Maybe not to you. But is getting a home game kind of the focus right now, or more just what's in front of us? Is that in the back of your mind, that home district game?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, you want the matchup more than you probably want a home game. But at this time, I think the top three have kind of separated themselves. And obviously we're sitting in fourth, but there's, 4 teams, 3 to 4 teams, down there that are a loss or 2 behind us. So, you really do have to focus on the next one probably more than you have to worry about that. And as I think probably everybody in this district would say, Brentwood's sitting at 10-0, and that doesn't mean that they're, going to finish undefeated. And I think Coach Shirley would tell you that as well. But it also means that there's still a lot of shifting that can happen
no doubt.
in this district. And so, you look at it for sure. I have the chart on my desk sitting there that I look at after every Tuesday or Friday game. But at the same time, of course, I would like to please our home students and have a home crowd for us. I think that would be big in the tournament. So, there's definitely a little bit of your brain that has to go that way.
Well, in that game against Franklin, 64-40, I think was the score. It's one of those deals, and what I read about it, I didn't attend the game, and you and I haven't talked about it. It almost had the feel in reading about it that maybe y'all were so jacked up that maybe it affected you shooting. You got in such a hole, you just couldn't get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We fought like crazy, down 22-9 early. I think that was the score at the end of the first quarter, and we were just fighting. We didn't shoot it very well at all, that's for sure. But I do think it was probably a little bit of a big environment deal.
Yeah.
And so just growing in those environments, obviously. We'll have Indy on Friday night. It'll be a big game. And then obviously we have 2 huge ones next week. Dixon will come to our place, which is large, and then Franklin Friday night at their place. So you can't escape it in this district, and we're going to go over to Franklin. It's going to be another big crowd, so we'll see if we can rebound.
Well, and what's so great about the league, and we talk about this all the time, Coach Keil, the game that I watched you guys play earlier, and that was early in the season, but it was a great atmosphere.
It always is a great atmosphere, and that's one of the things
incredible.
About this Williamson County fan base. They really love their high school basketball, and it, like I said, all the games are competitive, so it's going to be exciting to watch.
Well, and tonight, sorry not to butt in there. Tonight, I've actually talked with some of our student leaders. Apparently, our student section leaders have texted their student section leaders, and it's going to be a purple and gold, which is kind of cool when you think about Kobe. So, but that's
our philosophy. That's together.
That's the nature of this district,
it's
though,
crazy.
right? I mean, it's going to be an out, and whatever these kids decide to do. I mean, you would want nothing else for your student athletes. I mean, you would want nothing else.
And if you've seen these student sections, like on their Twitters, they get all over each other, but they love each other too. It's the weirdest thing.
Absolutely.
You see Indy Summit or Franklin Centennial, but then everybody's fine with it once the game's over. Coach Keil, after tonight, you've got that big home stretch coming up. That's got to be something that you've looked at and said, we can make some noise there during that time.
Well, you know me, how much I look
That's
ahead.
true, that's true. This is the first time Coach Keil's hearing about this.
Yeah.
Wait, now we have 3 home games after this? I am aware, but you know how I'm all in on one game. This is the only game I've paid attention to. But yes, but we have looked ahead with this week and having the break. So knowing that we have a big stretch ahead, and hopefully we can put it to use for us.
Coach Keil, what are some keys tonight for turning that 73-62 loss into a win for Independence?
Well, we got to slow Dusty down.
Yeah.
We struggled with that last time. But our guys, we've got to hit shots. That's one of the things that this year we're kind of dependent on is we've got our shooters have got to make shots. And they apply some good pressure, so we're going to have to make sure we handle their pressure. But it's just execute and do the best, and that'll put us in this. If we execute, we'll shoot the basketball, we'll be in the ballgame.
Coach Hickman, last time I felt like inside presence from Independence, they had some things that happened in their favor down there with some good physical play. But Ben Brown, obviously that can impact the game tonight.
Yeah, hopefully. One of the things that we felt like after the last time we played them was they did a good job of really getting downhill and, forcing kind of our defense to get in a little bit of foul trouble. And obviously they got to the line a lot, which helped them out. But I think that's not a indicative of, refereeing or anything like that. I mean, I think it was an emphasis, obviously, that they did, a good job of emphasizing and creating problems for us. So, we've spent a lot of time over the last couple of weeks trying to grow that and trying to piece that together. But obviously, that's a big deal. I mean, Harishi's a very talented player, and when he gets downhill, everything opens up for him. So, you know, that's a key for us for sure.
Gentlemen, we know it's going to be a great game tonight, our WCTV Game of the Week, Independence at Centennial. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
We'll see you next time on the Coach's Preview Show.